I know Gavin very well. He's an incompetent guy with a good line of bullshit, and he doesn't get the job done.
Hello and welcome to A Celtic World, a YouTube channel and podcast that celebrates the fact that Celtic have fans all over this great big planet. From Mary Hill to McCormick Place, London Road to Lincoln Park, wherever you happen to be watching from, you're very much part of A Celtic World. And as you can imagine, there was a couple of little Chicago references in there.
There was.
Because we're here with Chicago CSC. So let's say hello, first of all, to Gareth. How's it going, Gareth?
Oh, going wonderful, man. How you doing?
Doing great. I'm delighted to have you boys on. Obviously, keen-eyed viewers of the show will recognise Paul from Chicago. Paul, how are you?
I'm very well, Gav. How are you?
So why am I saying people will recognise you? Fill us in on that.
Yeah, I've been on a couple of episodes of Celtic World already with the guys from the North American CSCs. We all kind of organised after a tour last year. We became friends. We've been hanging out, and a few of the guys figured they want to start a podcast for people over here. And then, yeah, I just wanted to join in, and it's been really enjoying it. So happy to jump back on with Gav now.
Yep, this back in the big time, you know, that's a little satellite show, but the main show is obviously the big deal. But that could all change in time. The A Celtic World North America goes out on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, as they say over there.
Yeah.
So tune into that if you're an American or Canadian Celtic fan, or indeed you just want to hear the view from across the pond. All right, so for today's show, we're here to talk about Chicago CSC. How exciting. This is probably one of the first cities that springs to mind when you think of like Irish expats, when I think of that, or like, you know, cities that were built by immigrants from this part of the world. All right, so where are we going to start? Well, we always like to give our viewers a little geography lesson. They're just so thirsty for knowledge, you know, the Celtic World viewers.
Sure are.
So where is Chicago? Well, this is it here on the banks of Lake Michigan. There's New York there. The Great Lakes. There's quite a lot of focus on the Celtic World has been this area of America. Quite a lot of the people we've spoken to from this sort of part of the country. And here we have Chicago here. There's Milwaukee, where the Fonz is from. That's about all I know about Milwaukee. And then this is Michigan. So, Gareth, are you a Chicago born and bred young man?
No, I'm not actually. So,
Okay.
kind of a funny history with it. I moved to America when I was 4 from Swansea, Wales. Originally, I'm Welsh.
Oh wow.
So,
Oh.
yeah, kind of weird
Gareth
with it.
Mullins. That's
yes,
a pretty Welsh
but
name.
yes, absolutely. My father does have Irish ancestry, though, so we do have some lineage from there. But yes, like
Interesting.
yeah. But I have grown up all throughout the area. Love Chicago, like it's my home, honestly. And you know, every time, even though I go back to UK a bunch, Chicago always has a special place in my heart with it. So absolutely, has been, you know, the home for me for a very long time now.
What's a far cry from Swansea?
Oh yes.
I have a friend who is from the Mumbles.
Oh
I've
yes.
been down there a few times. It's a nice part of the world. The famous Mumbles Mile. Do you know what that is?
Oh, absolutely, yes. All around the Gower. Love it, man. Beautiful down there.
The Mumbles Mile is like a pub crawl. There's a mile of pubs and you go one after the other. And sorry state.
Obviously, I've been down Wine Street a couple times now, but nothing in terms of the mile itself. But yes.
And Paul, how long have you been in Chicago?
I'm on about 7 years here now. I moved to London about 10 years ago, met a Chicago girl, so we got married and made a move over here. And I became a citizen this year, actually. So I'm a dual passport boy now.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Proud to be an American, or at least you know you're free.
Yeah, sometimes.
Getting harder and harder these days.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Building a community like this is why we're here, you know, immigrants
Absolutely.
building communities over here. That's what makes Celtic special.
Yeah. And how did you bump into a Chicago girl in London? What was that scenario?
She was over there getting her master's. So this was about 2014, early days of Tinder. So we both swiped right, went on a couple of dates, and that's just history.
Yeah.
You know, it was
A tale as old as time. We both swiped right.
We've done long distance for a good bit. That was, that's hard. Anyone that's done long distance knows it's tough over any distance. But, we got through it, and now I'm here. We persevere.
Fantastic. All right, let's move it on then with the CSC chat. Here is the logo. 1995, the club was set up. Yeah, no, I watched the show that you did with Tino, who often gets in ahead of us for some reason, talking to people. And he was in that. You were talking about how many clubs got set up around 1995 in America, which was interesting to me, the reason why that is. Can you tell us why that is, Paul?
Probably couldn't give you a full answer, but it's a bit before my time. But there was a massive surge of interest in football around about that time because of the World Cup in 1994. And particularly Chicago, where I had the opening game there, where Diana Ross missed that penalty, and it was a pretty iconic opening ceremony. It was a big thing for Chicago, so there was a massive bit of interest. I think there's also just a few bars around the city that had the satellites that could get the games, and there was one, I believe it was Fast Eddie's, it's called. I might be getting them mixed up here, but it was one where basically hundreds of fans from Premier League, Scottish leagues, like Italian leagues or whatever, would show up in the afternoon, knowing that there'd be a game on, but praying it was their game. You had no idea until you showed up. So I think there's just a bit more interest. The World Cup pushed people a lot more, and then the MLS kind of started up in mid-90s as well. So much more interest over here in the game. I mean, it kind of stagnated for a bit over time, and we're hoping the World Cup next year will push that again. Who knows? But that's what we're going to want to capitalise on, the same way they did back then. I mean, I think there's also just a lot of people must have moved over in the early to mid-90s from Scotland and Ireland for a multitude of reasons, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm sure there was. Well, you've just listed a whole variety of factors there, which I'm sure all played into it.
Yeah.
The one that jumped out at me from listening to that podcast was, as you say, the sudden availability of games on TV live,
Mm-hmm.
That live game watching experience. Prior to that, and we've talked to CSCs, from all over the world, who back in the day used to get, videotapes sent to them, and they'd get together to watch a game like a week late.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd know the result, but that was their way of doing it. So yeah, the technological changes that made it possible to be watching games like that.
And we're seeing it go the other way as well, with the interest in like NFL and basketball in the UK. Like that surged in the past 10, 15 years, and that's internet and streaming, It's available now and people want to watch it. I mean, you have to get up or stay up at crazy times, but if you want to watch it, you'll do it.
It's an amazing thing. Like, Celtic World's all about fans spread all over the place, and connecting them, and different CSCs in Asia and America, you name it. It's incredible to think that at the same time, all over the world, there's people having a similar experience watching this event in Scotland. It's mad.
Yeah.
When you see all the celebrations, you put together like a montage of people celebrating all over the world and singing the same songs. And, it's hilarious.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's special.
All right, Gareth, so let's talk about the middle of this motif, the logo. There's that Chicago sign, which probably people recognize but don't know much about it. Can you tell us about it?
Oh, absolutely. That's the iconic Chicago Theater. You can go downtown, see it. It's right off of State Street. Huge tourist attraction. Everyone goes and gets selfies with it. It's a huge, again, iconic part of the city that so many people are drawn to. And again, whoever designed it, our logo originally, I personally do not know off the top of my head, but they absolutely chose such a wonderful symbol for our city. Because again, it's at the heart of Chicago. And I feel like, again, as a club who spans across the entirety of Chicago, we have boys coming up from the north side, the south side, outside the city, all coming in together to watch our club. It's wonderful as like a symbol to, again, bring everyone together. Kind of like, you were saying with how so many clubs across the world have that same energy. I feel like Celtic at large is just that, right? It's such a welcoming community where no matter where you are, we all come together because it's almost like it's more than football, right? It's culture, it's identity, it's who we are. So lovely kind of motif to bring people together with.
Mm-hmm. And it's quite interesting because I don't know about anybody else, but when I picture Chicago, I struggle to picture. I don't know much about Chicago, but the skyline and that there's not really like a New York skyline or something really that stands out. I know the Chicago. Well, Paul, you're raising your eyebrows. You're going to tell me the Chicago skyline is awesome, but there's not like one building that I think, oh, there's Chicago. It's that sign I think of when I think of Chicago. Well, what do people think of?
Like we've got the Sears Tower, then the Hancock Building are the two, like kind of the bookends of the skyline. There's unfortunately the Trump Tower that was designed by the same architect as the Burj Khalifa. It's Chicago's like really famous for its architecture. It's actually the first ever skyscraper was in Chicago. Mm-hmm. There was they had banned skyscrapers being built in Chicago for a few decades, about 100 years ago or so. So that's why it kind of fell behind New York. But there was a race between New York and Chicago for building skyscrapers for the longest time. That's kind of why like the second city motif of Chicago is there, because we were always kind of behind New York. But then once we got the skyscrapers, it was like, okay, we're number one again.
And we always have the bean as well. We do love our bean in Millennium Park.
Well, I'm just possibly just displaying my total ignorance here, and I don't mean to insult the Chicago.
It's all good.
Anyway. Anyway, we'll look at some pics. We'll see some pictures later, and you can educate me, point out what's what. But before we get on to Chicago proper, here you are. Here's the boys. This is a photograph I used in the thumbnail for the show.
Lovely.
Fans celebrating outside AJ Hudson's, which you are no longer at. Isn't that correct?
That's it. Yep, that's our old home. We transitioned into a bar called the Embassy in Little Italy. AJ Hudson's was a great home to us for many years. It was just time for a change. They were a lot of the clubs in there were growing, and so were we. So we just needed our own space. And now we have the availability to put music on after games and stuff like that now, which is huge for us.
Okay, we'll come on to the Embassy in a second, but just looking at these couple of pics here of supporters, is there anyone here, Gareth, you'd like to point out or tell us about in this image?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We got Paul on the far right holding our scarf, but right in the middle we have Mike Boyd, one of our lovely members who has been with us for years. We have a whole lot of the other.
Mike Boyd actually founded the club in '95, and that man he's got his arm round is actually a Rangers fan who would come in and watch the Rangers games with us.
Yeah.
We're welcoming people. But sorry, Gareth.
No, yeah, I mean, at large, all around the front, we have a whole bunch of the other old boys that have been with the club for years. And one of the great things about our CSC, too, we have a lot of new members coming around. Like, I myself, for example, have only really started coming around through the CSC in, what would you say, Paul, the last 3-4 years now? It's been relatively new, but every year we continuously grow more and more members. You can see some of the newer guys in the back there too. We got Scott, our 7-foot-tall man in the back with luscious hair. We got, Kieran on the far left side, a whole bunch of the guys that, again, have been around for years and all feel like family. So it's a lovely crew that we have. And again, just like other CSCs, when you go out to the pub every weekend and you see the same faces, my hand's around Sean from San Francisco originally too. He's a wonderful guy. But yeah, at the end of it, it all feels like family. You see the same faces every weekend. And no matter what the score is, at the end of the day, you're grabbing pints with guys that you really do share a lot in common with, be it expats, be it, their identity through the club, all that. And again, all the years, it's been nothing but welcoming to myself, my friends, and everyone else who has really become a part of the Chicago CSC.
Okay, and then you moved on to the Embassy. you were saying about the Embassy, Paul?
Yeah, Embassy is a bar that opened. There's been bars there for years, but this bar opened about 5 years ago or so. It was specifically a football pub run by an Irishman called Paul, who's a great guy. We just became a really popular bar, and we enjoyed it, so we wanted to try watching the games there. They were able to guarantee being open at 6 a.m. for those games, which, not many bars can do it. So it was nice to have that guaranteed every game, every season. They're waiting for us. Sometimes let us in early to get the flags up, but sometimes I'm doing that during the first half of a game, trying to watch it. It's a really fun bar. Great food. They do a full Irish breakfast. The bacon, the black pudding, the good sausage. It's great. And then they've got a back patio outside. It's just a really great spot in the summer for a post-match. We have local musicians singing some Irish rebel songs for us. We all sing along after we beat Rangers usually. And it's been fun. It's been a good time. Really happy there.
And as you can see from this flag, Gareth, it says Hoops in Horton, or I think that's what it says.
Porto.
Horto.
Oh, it's Horto. Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it might be. Well, what's that mean?
So the crest of Chicago is Herbs in Horto, which is, forgive my Latin, but I believe it is, oh my goodness.
It's City in the Garden.
That's it, yes. So we played off of that Chicago crest with Hoops in Horto.
So Hoops in the Garden.
Yeah. So good stuff.
Good
like
background knowledge. There may be a couple of other quiz questions later on. See if you come through those. It's such shining colours. Flying colours.
that. Nice.
All right. So this is downtown Chicago. Then the embassy is. You said it's in Little Italy. Is this like right in the heart of the town?
Yeah, kind of in the west town area. You can see just to the northwest of it there, you've got United Center, which is where the Chicago Bulls play. It's kind of like, how would you describe it? It's like there's a college nearby, so there's it's a very student-y place. There's a lot of great restaurants in the area. There's a place just down the street, Mario's Italian Ice, which is like an iconic Chicago summer trip for like families to go and get some Italian ice. It's good for some food. There was actually last weekend they had the Italian Street Festival there, so it kind of worked out for us that the game was on a Friday because the street was packed. The street was shut. There was no parking or anything like that. But once the game was done at like 5 o'clock that night, we could go out and grab some Italian food and listen to some Frank Sinatra impersonators. It's really nice community feeling around there. And there's some like bocce ball area kind of 2 doors down from the bar. So if somebody, not me, but somebody in a club wants to play bocce, they're welcome to.
Wants to play what? Sorry.
Bocce, BOCCE. It's like the game with bulls. It's what do you call that here?
You see, you're just exposing my ignorance throughout this recording.
I'm an encyclopedia, Gav. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, he absolutely is. From my personal experience as well.
Okay, so the CSC, nice collection of old and young. That's fun. And it's a decent size CSC, isn't it? I mean, you would get good numbers for the big games, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah, we'd fill out those bars, talking well over 50, 60 people. For the cup finals or the derbies, typically. The 6 a.m. games can be a tough draw for anyone, especially with how cold it gets here in the winter. You're waking up and there's like 6 inches of snow out there, and it's minus 30 degrees Celsius. You don't want to leave your bed. Those can be a tough draw for people, so those can be a small turnout. But even then, we're still getting like up to 10 people at those games, which is like a good turnout for a lot of clubs in smaller towns here, so we're very fortunate in that way.
Gareth, the embassy, I was looking at pictures to save for the purpose of this show. As you said, or as Paul said, it seems to be like generally a football pub or a sports pub, and there's pictures of all sorts of fan groups, different teams, different countries watching rugby, all sorts of stuff. So is there not a lot of difficulty getting the Celtic games on over others, or do you have like a corner of the bar, or how does it work?
So Yeah, so what's wonderful about the embassy is that they actually give us the very front of the bar, which is really prime real estate, honestly. So as soon as you walk in through the front doors, it's literally, you can see right on the left-hand side of you an entire wall of Celtic memorabilia. We have like our flags up, all of that. And no matter what, even if it is like, say, an English FA Cup final or others, like even like last season, right, when the bigger games like Arsenal versus Man City and all that were going on, we always had our front part of the bar, which has been such a lovely thing. And it's all thanks to, again, Paul, the owner. He's such a lovely guy to work with. And through his hospitality and the hospitality of everyone else on staff there, they've always made us felt like we've been home for the last 2 years now. We've been going there, and it's been really lovely. Like a lovely, lovely time to be there, yeah.
It's great that you're like prioritized. I mean, so these Chelsea fans come walking in, giving it the big one, and they know they're in a essentially what's a priority Celtic pub.
Yeah. Thankfully their pub's something different. It's the Greystone in Lakeview. we got some breathing room, thankfully, from them. But
Chelsea boys.
Yeah, but
we share with. I mean, there's a lot. Like we get Crystal Palace, Leeds, and Nottingham Forest are the main Premier League teams that drink there. Wow. There's not many clashes with them in terms of like kickoffs or anything. And anytime we always end up drinking together and stuff like that, and celebrating each other's goals. If we've had a few, I don't typically follow much Premier League, but if the game's on and the people next to me are enjoying it, I'll give it a watch.
Yeah. Sure. It's not as much fun as the Scottish League, of course. Sold its soul, hasn't it? I mean, what's the fun in watching Saudi Arabia play against UAE?
It's just
there is like how football used to be.
Yeah, there is some great talent down there, obviously, but like it's getting wasted on. Like I used to like Pep as a coach, but everything is just so by the end. So you don't take any risks anymore down there because people are more afraid to lose than they want to win.
Yeah, so, a lot of people saying he's ruined football because everyone's managing the same way.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to the next iteration of football. I'm fucking sick of this.
Yeah,
to be honest,
I
want to see some free spirits.
Yeah,
totally.
Okay, before we move on then, from the CSE specifically, on the Celtic Exchange, you discussed briefly some charity work that the club does with refugees from other US states who'd been sort of unceremoniously deposited in Chicago and kind of left in the lurch. Gareth, do you know much about that? I see you nodding. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from our CSE standpoint, we do multiple raffles all throughout the year. A lot of those proceeds not only go towards helping us run our own CSE through events and all that, but a lot of that also goes out to like the foundation and other like charitable things. Like, Paul, do you have more specifics?
Yeah, I think. I mean, the one that Gav we were talking about in that podcast was something I'd done with the Chicago Fire fan group that I'm a member of, called Redline. It was Venezuelan refugees that's been taken out of, I think, Texas and put in Chicago, unfortunately, in the middle of winter with no jackets, no shoes. Like, they just had whatever they were snatched up in. So they raised a lot of money to like get them jackets and stuff like that for the winter, and then we decided to raise some money into a football book collection, and we were able to put, we were able to get like I think 11 kids in football boots, and then Chicago Fire, the MLS team, front office there, they came over and gave them free tickets to a game that was happening that weekend, which was really nice of them. Unfortunately, that game was the coldest game in Chicago Fire history, so I don't know if they had a fun time at the game, but it was it's very important for us over here to use football for charitable causes, because that's how a lot of teams were founded, be it through Celtic trying to put money on, trying to put food on the table of Irish immigrant children, to, teams that are founded as part of trade unions in industrial towns and stuff like that. Like, a lot of the time these football teams were started to feed people, and we think that should continue.
Yeah. And have you done many more link-ups with Chicago Fire then? Is there quite a strong connection between you and them?
Yeah, we've got a few people that come to the club. They work for the Fire as well. I'm still in the supporters groups. There's been a lot of movement at the Chicago Fire over the past couple of years, so the relationship hasn't quite been as good as it was a few years back, mainly because I just don't really know the people. But they have donated like tickets to games for raffles and stuff like that, and they've always been willing to help, and they come down to stuff like that. And whenever they host it, they're always inviting us to like 5-a-side, 7-a-side tournaments to represent. Unfortunately, they always seem to fall on like the Scottish Cup final weekend or something like that, so we can't get enough numbers. But we try and work with them, and we work with all the like, local football teams or soccer teams. Gareth actually works pretty high up in a local team at Edgewater Castle. I let him speak to them, but he had a great year, a great year.
Yes, absolutely. So, and I work as a director of communications for a local semi-professional soccer club who continuously has been expanded ever since their 8 years of existing now. I live in a neighborhood on the far northeast side called Edgewater, and the club Edgewater Castle has been all throughout the neighborhood. We do a lot of local outreach. We do, essentially it's a club with like 2 different branches, right? Our LLC side is all of our semi-professional work. We have our men's team playing in the Midwest Premier League, our women's team playing in United Women's Soccer. And through their success, we've won 5 trophies this year, including our first ever national trophy, meaning being the best. Our women's team was the best in UWS in the entirety of the United States. Really big stuff for us. And outside of that, though, our 501c, the Edgewater Castle Football Foundation, we actively go up to try and combat the growing tide of pay-to-play soccer in America, or football, right? Because really, in my neighborhood in Edgewater, we have a lot of first-generation immigrant families coming in with not much, financial background, who want to, again, help their children find community, make friendship, and all that. And again, football, like we know through Celtic, transcends borders. And what we do with Edgewater Castle is we partner with the city of Chicago through the Chicago Park District to really help provide that to a lot of these families. So no family has to pay a single cent to, help their kids get into soccer in America. And yeah, we do a lot of like free camps, indoor futsal during the winters, all that good stuff. A year-long round operation. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's all about the futsal here for different reasons because it's so hot.
Mm.
Or it's the rainforest, so the rain is just horrendous.
Yeah.
So you can never plan to play outside, really, especially with a head like this. you don't want the sun beating down.
Oh, yes.
All right, let's turn our attention then to our teaching on the skyline of Chicago, Paul. This is where you can put me in my place firmly.
Sure can.
This is Chicago. Right, so go on then, take it away.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, so this is an old photo actually, so there's a couple of good ones missing. But the big one on the far left there, the kind of zigzaggy shape, I'm pointing at my screen as if you can see me.
This one?
Yep, up until 20 years ago, that was the tallest building in the world. It's the Sears Tower. It was opened by Sears, the catalogue company. It's now called the Willis Tower, but Chicagoans still call it the Sears Tower. We're funny that way. And then on the way on the far right, there's a building kind of in the distance with 2 kind of aerials pointing out of it. Yep, that's a similar design, just kind of straight up. It's not as big, not as tall, but it's like the 3rd biggest one in the city. And that's those kind of, if you look out from the lake or from the suburbs, they kind of bookend the skyline, the kind of way it's set up. And then the kind of tall one right in the middle at the front there, I think that's up until the Trump Tower, that was the 2nd tallest. I hate that building so much.
It's very ugly.
Yeah. But unfortunately, a lot of the nicest skyscrapers in Chicago kind of get drowned out by the taller ones, because there's one called the Carbide and Carbon Building. It's an Art Deco style one. It's got a gold top, and it was designed in the 20s to exude wealth. And they've done like the spire at the top. They painted it completely gold. Actually, it's just kind of at the top of this screen here, the kind of green. Yep, that one there. It's actually, there's a movie called Wanted, and there's a sniper shoots a guy from the top of that building, which is kind of yeah, that's my favourite because it's kind of 1920s style. It's based on the American Iron Building in New York, which is an iconic building. And on this one here, you've got the famous Chicago River style bridges that are going to raise up. That's just a particular style based in Chicago. And above that, this kind of blue hotel here, that is where Bruce Wayne lives in Dark Knight.
Yeah, I was surprised to see the waterways of Chicago, that come in from the lake. It's really quite attractive and nice as that photograph shows, tourists knocking about and getting, that's a nice way to sort of see the city, I imagine.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. There's a law was written years back by Burnham, who designed a lot of the city, that basically stated that like any kind of part of the city that's on water belongs to the people of the city, so that people should always have access to it. So a lot of the Chicago River has kind of walkways like that. And I actually used to go, when I worked in that part of the city, I would go sit there on my lunch most days in the summer and just look out in the water. There's a lot of paddle boats and stuff like that going up and down all the time. It's great. And it's kind of, in the winter, it's nice as well because it freezes all the way up and it's kind of cool.
It freezes over?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
And
It
do
gets
people go
Arctic
on
over
it,
here.
or-
Oh, no.
People aren't that dumb anymore because like, there's so many skyscrapers on the river. As soon as it freezes over within like a day, the fire department they've got a big boat that breaks all the ice because they need to be able to get their boat down the river to put out fires in any of these buildings. Especially if they've got all their heating and stuff going full blast in that cold. There's always a risk.
And so Chicago's on Lake Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Can you see the other side when you look
No,
at it? No,
not at
it's
all.
like the sea.
Yeah.
Right.
It's massive. Like when I was when I was still growing up in the city, literally thought it was a huge ocean. Like, you literally cannot see the other side for the life of you. It's very
That's
incredible.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, here's some more pictures of Chicago. You can jump in if you see anything of note here. But I thought this was an interesting one showing the houses near the sort of downtown area.
Yeah, you've got kind of what looks like fire exits, but they're back porches. There's a very Chicago thing in summer and the winter. You get lots of like parties and stuff like that. And then the little house with the red door in the front, that's what's called a Chicago free flat. There's a basement apartment, a middle one, and then a top floor apartment. And those are usually shotgun style, so really long. Like my one is kinda. I live in a one like that kind of style. So those are very of this part of the city. I think this must be north side somewhere, going by the buildings, like the buildings on the lake. Those are very common around here.
Yeah.
Okay.
There it is.
Where's this place?
Paul's favorite place.
Yeah, it's beautiful, Wrigley Field. I love it so much. Yeah, that's where the Chicago Cubs play baseball. It's up there. The only original stadiums in the Major League Baseball now are Wrigley Field and Fenway Park in Boston. So it's a big tourist attraction. I go there as much as I can. I've not been to many this year because the Cubs are good, so tickets are expensive. But there was a few years there when they weren't good, and you can go for like $5 to $10 a ticket, and I'd go to like 2 games a week if possible. Actually, I worked there a couple of years ago actually for a summer. I got laid off and was trying to find work, and just getting a nice job to tide me over, and that was really fun getting to see people see the stadium for the first time. Unfortunately, Gareth doesn't spend much time at Wrigley Field because he is a fan of the team on the south side that has typically more Irish fans than the Cubs.
Yeah,
I think it's 50-50, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm a White Sox fan, so... Well, funny enough, all across our CSC, it's kind of 50-50 between Cubs and White Sox fans. It's one of the biggest sports rivalries in the city between the two baseball teams during the summer. So, but outside of that, I mean, when it comes to the fall and all that, the other sports always unite us as a whole, right? Chicago Bears, the American football going on very soon will be big thing. We're getting together a fantasy football league for us. We do a lot of fun stuff with the other sports in the city.
And it's tough being a Celtic fan in Chicago and having to support a team that wears blue and orange and calls themselves the Bears. But we have to do it.
I tease them all the time for it.
Very good. It's funny. And Wrigley Field, is that into do like who's Wrigley? It's not the chewing gum.
Yeah.
Wrigley.
It's a Chicago company. So Wrigley, the guy that founded it, there's actually another famous building in Chicago. It's called the Wrigley Building, which sits on the river. Ed Wrigley, Mars Wrigley, Chicago company. He bought the stadium 100 years ago, around about, and basically said Chicago must have a professional team. Originally, it was the Chicago Whales played there, and then actually the Chicago Bears, the NFL team, played at Wrigley Field up until the 70s even, and then they moved to Soldier Field downtown.
Wow. Yeah, because Wrigley's is just everywhere in the world, isn't it?
Yeah, it's huge, man.
Packet of Wrigley's, spearmint, double mint.
Yeah.
Not a big gum fan. Are you gum chewers?
Nah.
I used to be, but not much these days, honestly.
Yeah, I think in school and stuff like that. But now I just want to give my jaw a rest. It's too much now. See people doing that, I hate it.
Yeah. Those raving days.
Yeah.
Makes you
Jaw
want to
swinging.
give your jaw a rest.
Doing your gums off.
Okay, so let's talk about this picture. Did you linger long on Love Street?
I haven't seen that in ages.
Oh yeah, that was I think a random day. I think we went out to watch the Euros, so it was during the off season. We all just met up and randomly ended up at Love Street. So I thought it would be funny thing. They were shut, so we couldn't explain Albert Kidd to them, but we'll get there eventually. We'll tell them.
Yeah.
Looks like a far cry from Paisley.
Oh yeah. I don't even remember what that was now.
I think it was around like Lincoln Park area or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, many moons.
Yeah, so Lincoln Park, spelt like Abraham Lincoln.
Yes.
Presumably it's named after him. But the band are obviously from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they are. I think they're from.
Why do they call themselves that?
I think there's a lot of Lincoln Parks around the country.
Mm.
I think Chicago is the biggest
right?
one because Lincoln's like Illinois is known as the land of Lincoln. I'm not sure if he was born here, but he spent a lot of time here. So yeah, I think it's just kind of from Massachusetts or somewhere like that. I mean, look that up.
I think it was Kentucky actually. Yeah, born in Kentucky.
Another mistake, then. There you go.
So right, I made that mistake. Oh, they're from California. Of course they are.
Okay.
They're from California.
Really?
Okay, so I've obviously made lots of factual errors throughout this show, but now is my chance to lord it over you with some facts and hope that you can't answer these questions. But first one is, Chicago, we hear that word all the time and, you're so used to it, but it's a kind of a weird word to the outsider,
Yeah.
Where does Chicago come from? Who wants to take that?
I know that one actually. Do you know it?
I know, so I can't remember the tribe's name, but one of the indigenous groups that used to live in the area named the area based off of that. But I know it.
It was.
I think I know it. I know it's like the indigenous word.
Paul's ready to steal. Paul's ready to steal.
I'm tapping out.
So Chicago is a swamp, basically. When they established Chicago on it, it was a swamp, and there was a tribe here, and they used a word, Chicago or something along that line, to describe the smell of the swamp. It was almost like an oniony smell, I believe. Yeah. That's what I was always getting told.
You're doing well. You're hitting all the right notes.
Yeah. So I believe it was something to do with the smell of the swamp. It was about a particular smell. And John DeSalle, established Chicago. He was the first man to pitch up camp here. He definitely was him that asked, "What's that smell?" And somebody said Chicago or something, whatever the pronunciation was of it.
Yeah, it means smelly
let's
onion.
check Paul's answer here. Time for teacher to step in.
Oh.
The most accepted Chicago meaning is a word that comes from the Algonquin language.
That's it.
Chicago, meaning striped skunk or onion. According to the early explorers, there was loads of wild onions around. Leeks. There you go, Robert de La Salle, the explorer.
Yeah.
We arrived at a place called Chicago, which blah blah blah, its name from the quantity of garlic grown around here. So garlic, onions, leeks, and it also means skunk. The Miami and Illinois peoples applied the same word to onion and skunk because of the pungent smell of so many wild onions and garlic. So, I have to congratulate you on that answer, Paul. That was very good. Did very well. Gareth, you're going to have to step in now and tell us.
Yeah, it's your turn.
Tell us, what does Illinois mean? because there's another word that you take for granted, but Chicago and Illinois to the outsider are both very odd words, but or unusual. So Gareth, what can you give me?
See, I got a gist for the Chicago answer, but Illinois. all I remember growing up was, again, the land of Lincoln, but that's not what that means.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm.
Can you translate Illinois in any way? That's really what I'm looking for.
Nah, I'm
Paul's ready to steal again. Look at that little smirk.
Yeah,
oh no.
I'm smirking because I'm annoyed I don't know it.
Yeah, me too, honestly. Because
you were schooled here, so you've been always guess.
Well, I practically grew up here, and I still don't know it, which is the big shame of anything, honestly. So,
well, as you say, it's North American tribal, and the French explorers who arrived here recorded it first of all, and it roughly translates to those who speak the regular way, or tribe of superior men, which is a good one. That's one you puff your chest out and say that's what it means.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's like Chicago, Illinois means smelly, oniony place of the tribe of superior men.
Yeah. So
I'll put that on your logo somewhere on a flag.
Yeah. That'll be on our next flag for sure.
Tribe of superior hoops or something.
Yeah. All right, so like we can't talk about Chicago, I think, without mentioning sort of its reputation on the dark side for gang violence and what have you. Like, people will maybe know that it's also known as Chirac. Something to do with more young men are dying on a daily basis in Chicago than like all the servicemen, American servicemen overseas, and all the various wars that are constantly going on. God bless America. So maybe you can tell us a bit about that. I mean, how rough is Chicago, and to what extent do you see it, or can you avoid it? Or
it's a very segregated city. Unfortunately, it always has been. There's a very clear split north to south side in terms of the demographic, and then the west side as well. We can't lie. It's rough in a lot of areas. It is rough. A lot of the discourse around Chicago is kind of a little bit of like kind of right-wing fearful nonsense, where it's like over amplified when it's like the murder rate and stuff like that is high. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a city, it's got a high murder rate, but like there's a lot more cities with worse murder rates, and it kind of gets people's backs up in Chicago getting tarred by that brush, because it's like you're focusing on us. There's a lot of people here working, a lot of charities here working to try and make the city a better place and stop stuff like that happening. And the kind of, people online will do a lot of point scoring and stuff like that over it. And it's like, keep your side of the street clean and we'll keep our side of the street clean, I think Gareth and I are fortunate we both live on the north side, which is stereotypically a bit nicer. Obviously there's still stuff happens, it's a city. But I've always said, like, I've lived Glasgow, Edinburgh, London, Chicago, and I've felt the safest in Chicago than I did. Like, I grew up in Maryhill, like, in the 2000s. That was not a friendly place to be living in at those times, you just know you learn how to live in city, head in a swivel, no headphones on after 10 o'clock, just stuff like that.
It's interesting you say that, because there's places like where I grew up where, I would consider myself to be far more at risk. My person is more at risk than some of the dirtiest back streets that I've been to in the world, which on paper people think are absolute no-go zones.
Yeah.
But place I'm most likely to get a fist to the face or worse.
Yeah. If you're going to act up, you're going to get trouble, and there is places like Coal Block, Cabrini Green was a famous one. That's where Candyman, the movie, was set. Famously very rough areas, no-go zones for police even. It is rough, and it's always had that reputation for like 100 years at this point, with Al Capone all the way back when, like a lot of crime, Chicago being like big city in the middle of the country. It's a very popular place for criminals on the run, a very easy place to distribute from, with trains coming to and from here. So yeah, it's always going to have that reputation. It's just we work hard to try and keep the can't keep the crime rate down, but help the people most affected by it.
Yeah, as you say, there's been gangs since way, way back in America's history.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting thing. I was looking at Wikipedia here, doing a wee bit of research. And they say, there's kind of like two sort of umbrella organizations, the Folk Nation and the People Nation. Are these terms you're familiar with?
Not personally, no.
The Gangster Disciples are a pretty famous one.
The
Black Disciples as well, the BDs and the GDs.
The Latin Kings.
The Latin Kings. There are stuff.
Some interesting names here, actually. Insane Popes, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's sort of a bit of a reference there.
Yeah, I think one of them got promoted recently.
There's some very funny names, though.
Yeah,
no, it's not. Yeah. No, it's no laughing matter, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Some of the names are quite funny. Yeah. People Nation. Chicago Gaylords. Yeah. Does that strike fear into your heart?
Sure does.
I'm being chased by the Chicago Gaylords.
I think they were a much older one. I think they were a North Side one. I'm sure. I think they might be a biker gang or something. I may be wrong. No, I might be completely wrong. But I think the word Gaylord definitely meant something different back then. Because you go to Nashville, there's a lot of Gaylord insignia all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Stoned Freaks. There's a good name for 420 somewhere. One of our regular viewers.
That's me and Gareth after a midweek game.
Oh yes. Any stressful Celtic match.
Cannabis is legal in Illinois as well.
Yeah.
So we're not talking illicit here.
All right. Before we move on to the next bit, which is we're going to talk a little bit about the US tour, do we want to just briefly touch on where we're at as Celtic fans, as you say, after recent games? Like, this has been recorded in between the Kairat games, just to give people a sense of context. If people watching can remember where their head was at in between those two games, it might be in a very different place now as they're watching this, who knows. But this show will go out during the international break that's coming up. So, Gareth, where do you hope we will be at that time when people are watching this?
I mean, ultimately, it's all in the hands of the board at this point, right? Like, after that Kairat game on Wednesday, I was at the pub for it. Literally, got off work for a little bit just to go out there and see it. And me and all the other lads in the pub were just in shock at the performance. It's, again, Paul said in our group chat, we have a CSC group chat together with some of us. And, the writing's been on the wall for ages. When we don't make moves in the off-season, this is the results that we get. And ultimately right now, if we don't make a shift for the better, especially following Alistair Johnson's injury too, which was such a shame, that we're looking to hopefully, again, we have a standard as a club wanting us to maintain that both domestically and internationally with our reputation. And after Wednesday's match, it's hard. It's hard to piece that together unless we make some broad strokes towards improving our squad, especially in the front.
Well, a lot's going to depend on the return leg, isn't it, in terms of the mood music around the club, Paul?
Yeah.
It's either going to be tiki torches and pitchforks, or, take a breath and then watch some players come in and then, maybe things aren't so bad. Where do you think we'll be?
Yeah, I think at this point, the writing isn't all for the board. It's even if we do sneak through into the Champions League, don't know anybody that's confident about this team with an extra couple of signings doing anything other than getting absolutely scudded in the Champions League. When we were in the Champions League, we would always say, "Oh, I wonder what we'd be like in the Europa League with this team. Maybe we'd make a mark." And now, possible chance will be in Europa League. I can't see this team doing anything there either. And it's from the board, you sell your players. You've got to. You can't replace like for like all the time, but you've got to at least try and fill that hole in the team. And the team's full of holes, and the players are dropping left, right, and centre. We've got Ali Johnson, Trusty, and Adamida all out tomorrow. There's no signings. Doesn't seem to have anybody in the pipeline. There's no real talk about anything. You see Southampton getting surprise signings on a Thursday afternoon, and we can't even get a rumour out of the club. And if we'd spoke earlier in the week and the words Jamie Vardy came up, like any group chat I was in, I was fuming because it's just a sign of where it is now. You know, we've had a year to replace Kyogo. We knew last summer he was away in January, and we've had a year to figure out a signing to replace him. And if the guy we get in is a 38-year-old free agent who is basically in the boss's phone, it's insulting to the fans. And at this point, they've shown us over multiple years they don't care about getting the deals done. They don't care about spending the cash to make sure the Champions League cash is coming in. They just care about being just better than Rangers and keeping us happy with domestic success. Of course, we'll have domestic success, but we want to see us do better in the continent. You know, we want to see us make a mark in Europe. And as far as I've been alive, even I've not seen them make that extra push. We get the odd result here and there, your Barcelonas and stuff like that. It's fun, it's nice, but it ultimately amounts to nothing.
Yeah, heartbreaking. Like, because we had the platform after last season. You think one more step and we're really in the big time.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it doesn't happen. And after all the hoo-ha, getting Rodgers back, given the context and everything, and him talking about how things have changed around here. Remember when he came back, he was like, "Oh, this isn't the same club as." You know, those problems are gone, we all thought.
Yeah.
Of course, they rear their ugly head again. So, all right, well, that's pretty grim. Well, we don't have much time left, so let's quickly jump back into the Chicago CSC story and talk to us about the tour.
Oh,
So
yes.
this lovely picture here. This is excellent.
That was a fun one to make. Yeah, so we were very fortunate. We got a couple of months head start on the tour. A few of the clubs knew that was happening before it was announced. Clubs, like, you know, word had filtered through, and then the club reached out to a few people just to say, like, okay, we don't want to step in your toes with things here, you know, like that. Toronto had a big event planned, etc. So we were able to, like, know, okay, what can we do here? And so we had the 3 games. We had one game in DC, one in North Carolina, and one in South Bend, Indiana. South Bend, Indiana is a 90-minute drive from Chicago. So it's effectively a home game for Chicago because everybody was flying into Chicago for the game.
Mm-hmm.
So on the Wednesday, no, the Thursday and the Friday night, the game was on the Saturday. The Thursday and Friday night, we put on music and Irish bars downtown, and just had a great night. You know, we sold merch. People came in from all over the world. Actually, it was funny. Like, every time I turned around, I'd see someone that I hadn't seen in like 10 years. You know, someone that worked within a bar or something like that, and it was brilliant getting to like catch up with people like that. And then on the Friday, myself and a few people, we went over to South Bend. The Celtic Foundation hosted a charity event the night before the game. Big auction. They had Lee McGrandles playing some music, a Q&A with Dyson, Casper and Greg Taylor. It was a fun night. That was the same night as one of our little Irish parties. I think Gareth manned the fort for that one.
Oh, yes.
The day of the game, we ran 5 buses from A.G. Hudson's to South Bend. I wasn't on those buses, I was already there. But seems like everyone had a great time despite the traffic, and I think one of the buses was missing their AC or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was pretty tough. But the tour as a whole was great. It was fantastic, once in a lifetime stuff. Gareth, what's your views of it?
Oh yeah, it was absolute scenes. You know, like we partnered up with two pubs that we oftentimes partner with, Kerryman and Celtic Crossing. So that was it, Celtic, right? You know, kind of in the name to partner with them. But both of them, wonderful experiences. Again, just partnering up with other CSCs. We had people all across the US, around the world, UK, everyone all come together in Chicago to really experience it. And yeah, the buses were absolute scenes. Again, just rebel music all the time, all the way down there, everyone on it. It was lovely. And again, beating the London Huns 4-2. Beautiful.
4-1.
4-1? My bad. So it shows how much I was on it on the day of. But no, it was melting. Because literally, it was in one of the older stadiums in college football, Notre Dame Stadium.
No roof on it.
Yeah, no roof, just constant sun.
Brutal, I've spoken to various people who were at that, and like I say, all these pink heads under the sun.
Oh yeah,
It's just nothing but sky above you. It looks absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
Had to be indoors for a couple of days after that. I was absolutely red in the face. And
Well, here's a man with a cap.
What
What stadium is this?
That's Wrigley Field.
Oh, is it though? I thought
Yeah.
this was part of the tour.
As first one that was just before the tour actually. Wrigley Field hosted the family that own the Chicago Cubs also own the local women's pro football team. So they had a big game there that day. It got rained out. It was miserable and they lost, but it's always fun getting to watch football at a random stadium that doesn't usually host it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There he
What's
is.
happening with your face there, Paul?
Well, let me tell you about that particular day.
Yeah.
My God. So the day before, that was a DC game. That was the first game of the tour. The day before that game, there was a massive cyber attack on all the airlines, and it shut all the airlines down. So a few of our members drove from Chicago to DC for the game, but my flight was the next day, so I was like, "You're fixing it. I should be okay." Every flight on the day of the game was fine, except for my flight. So I ended up, my flight from Chicago to DC, and the morning of the game completely cancelled after 3 hours of delays. My wife's exec assistant, so she's always quickly booking flights. So I just called her straight away and I was like, okay, I'm going to phone up and get my refund for this. Find the first flight from Chicago to DC. So she got straight on it, and she didn't find one to DC, but there was one going from Chicago's other airport on the other side of the city to Baltimore, which isn't far. It was like an hour's drive from DC. So I had to book it all the way from Chicago here to Midway, fly to Baltimore, jumping in Uber from Baltimore to the hotel in DC. Ended up going to the wrong hotel because I went to like the Marriott downtown instead of the Marriott City Centre, you know. Pretty much the same thing in my books. So that was low stress. So I'd literally got to the stadium like 20 minutes before the game, like just poured like 4 or 5 beers down my throat, walked into the stadium and like a flurry, and I see a big handsome blonde guy walking towards me that I recognise. I'm like, is that the goalie? And sure enough, big Casper. So I just grabbed a quick photo. But that's my very red, stressed face from that day. That was brutal. But yeah, we won that game 4-0, so it was worth it in the end.
And unfortunately, as you say, you're right beside a very handsome, healthy, relaxed-looking dude.
Oh,
Yeah.
So that doesn't help.
Yeah, it was not my best moment.
It's a good photo, though, and as you say, there's context behind it. Which,
Yeah.
you can go into.
And he just signed like the day before as well, so he hadn't even played a minute. He was just kind of
That's
seeing
right.
the sights and doing interviews.
Very good. What about this picture? What's the context of this? Do you know, Gareth?
Oh, was that at?
You weren't at
Oh,
this
correct.
game.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
the North Carolina one. Yeah.
Yeah, that was it. We all got into the stadium, and there's like laws in America where if like there's lightning or thunder within like a mile of you, you have to evacuate. And every time there's a bolt of lightning, the clock resets, and it's 30 minutes. I think you can see me kind of in the middle in a green cap with my head turned, talking to a guy in glasses.
Yep,
But
that's
basically, we couldn't stay in the
This person
stadium.
here?
Yeah, I think that's me.
That's you.
Yeah, they basically
Good spot.
said you can't stay in the stadium. You all have to go stand in the middle of the street during a rainstorm that ultimately passed us like 3 miles to the north. So it didn't rain at all. It just stayed really humid. But it was funny because we all just got out here and kept singing the Celtic songs. Every Celtic song you can think of. All the local news channels were there recording us, so we all ended up on the news. There's videos of it. It was really funny. And those games were fun against the Premier League teams because we managed to convert a lot of fans. You know, a lot of people are there with City jerseys or Chelsea jerseys. With be taking their jersey off and putting on a Celtic top at half time and jumping in the
Jeez,
supporters
really?
section with us because they were just thinking, this is more fun.
Yeah. Wow.
Mhm.
Here's people having fun.
Oh yeah.
McGregor, Karl Mack seems to be having fun anyway.
Oh yeah, that's the guy on the right. That's Alan White. He's been one of our members for a long time. He actually made the flag for us. So and that's his 2 sons there, and on the left.
Oh, yeah.
he's a great guy. I've not seen much of him. He splits his time between here and somewhere in Texas, I think now. He's always really fun to be around. He's always happy to join in, always been happy to help. It's been a pleasure to have in the club.
Yeah, he looks like a character.
Oh yeah, he sure is.
Yes. Lovely lad.
And here's another couple of lovely lads.
Oh, yes.
Heyo, there's the boss.
Paul gets around.
Yeah. That was a fun
Is
night.
this
That
the
was
convention thing?
yeah, that was the night before the game, the charity event that I was talking about. Yeah, Brendan was there, Roy Aitken, Stan Petrov, so I got a photo of all of them with the flag. I don't know. The funny thing about Brendan is, like, see if you look at what he's wearing there, it just looks like a basic white shirt, but there's a Montclair badge on the side, so that's a $500 stain magnet he's wearing. Like, he just thinks he's wealth, Brendan. But actually, I got to chat with him a little bit that night, and anybody that talks to him, they'll say, like, he makes you feel like you're the only person in the room if you talk to him, And I just chatted with him about the Chelsea game the next day, what his plans were and stuff like that, and he was very open with me, chatting about it in so many minutes. It was cool, So you don't often get to just stand and chat to the Celtic manager. It's something you kind of dream of as a kid, so it's a very fond memory.
That's interesting, because there's a little negative there and then a positive. He does like to flaunt his wealth and all that.
Sure
and
does.
normally people who do that, you'd think, can't be bothered with this.
Yeah.
But then when you got chatting to him, he wasn't, highfalutin, or he was nice to you.
Yeah, it was really nice, and it's like people make fun of him, like, he brings it on himself sometimes, with some of his, like, David Brent moments or whatever. But he's a very well respected coach in football, and if you just, like, ask him football questions, it seems like he's always more than happy to answer them for you.
Yeah.
And that's why I'll moan about him now and again, but he'll always have a big place in my heart.
He's a fine manager, that's for sure. Don't know whether we'd be best buddies in real life.
Nah.
He hasn't asked me yet, so.
I don't think we drink in the same pubs, to be honest.
He's just a wee guy from Carnlough. I know Carnlough so well. It's like a couple of villages along where my family are from. So, and he's my age. I sometimes wonder, did we maybe go to the same parochial hall discos during the summertime and stuff?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Dancing about the free Nelson Mandela and the like. But anyway, I digress. Well, lads, look, that's been a really nice chat. Feel like we've really gotten to know the CSC and you boys. That's really brilliant. Any other messages you want to convey, shout outs to members of the club or anything before we wrap it up?
Shout out to everyone involved in the club. You've got the guys that are there every week. You've got your Taylor, your AJ, Nate, Big Liam, Sean Mahan, Alan Wade's been a big, huge member for the club for the past couple of years. Mike Boyd, who I mentioned earlier, who's been there for ever, since day one. He's always a pleasure to have around. Big Tony, Smitty, who a few guys might know. He's on scoreboard now and again. A lot of great characters around. Thank God as well, I guess, since I'm getting everybody in.
Yeah.
Well, you can't name everyone, so apologies to anyone who didn't get a shout out.
Yeah.
You know who you are. You make it special.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks to everyone who's been watching as well in the live chat and commenting. I've been throwing up comments. The me of the future has been adding comments to the chat as we're going along. So hope everyone enjoyed this episode. It's the international break, of course, so we're not just going to fill people's time with useless speculation. We'd rather do something substantial, like get to know the Chicago CSC. And it's been an absolute delight. So Gareth and Paul, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having us, Gav.
I love a Celtic world. If I haven't subscribed yet, I am gonna do it right now. Woohoo!